Welcome into another off-season edition of Spits and Suds. Thank you so much for supporting us and listening to these podcasts. We truly appreciate it. I'm Gavin Spittle of 105.3 The Fan. Plenty of Stars news to talk about today, and joining us is our NHL insider from EP Ringside. If you want to follow a great Substack, it's called Shap Shots, has all kinds of information. He's also a big-time movie star. He has the book called We Win Here. The movie is called The Late Game, which you can find on Amazon and other places. The scroll keeps getting longer. Let me continue. D Magazine and the article today, How Will Jamie Benn Era End in Dallas? And we'll start with that. But first, let's say hi to Sean Shapiro.
Hey, Gavin. How you doing today, man?
Man, I'm good. I feel like I should just do just press play and have it all recorded. Because it keeps getting longer, my man. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing. You're in high demand.
It's the key I've learned in this line of work, Gavin, is to stay versatile and more so than anything, it's I need to keep myself entertained and interested in what I'm working on. So that's kind of more of the meaning behind everything, I guess.
No,
so.
That's good. That's very good. All right, lots to talk about today. The D Magazine article that just dropped, How Will the Jamie Benn Era End in Dallas? And you start by going through the Jamie Benn career, the ups and the downs, and it ends with a contract discussion. Thought it was a really good read. I am biased, but thought it was a really good read because I had forgotten a few things, and I encourage everyone to go back and read it. First of all, coming in when Modano and Lettinen were leaving, and then assuming the captaincy, and we all know about the co-captaincy behind the scenes with kind of Joe Pavelski having that role as well. So a lot of interesting tidbits in this article about Jamie Benn.
Yeah, and it's to me, there's kind of one of those wow, no, it's like one of those things where you fact check it and you're like, that can't be right. But to me, there was, when I was talking to my editor over at D Magazine, Mike Palucci, about this, we're about to move to the spot where Jamie Benn is about to play his 16th season as a Dallas Star.
Yep.
About 30 games into this season, he will pass Mike Modano for most games played as a Dallas Star. Now,
amazing.
Mike Modano will still hold the franchise record because Mike Modano played 20 seasons for the franchise in total, but 4 of those were in Minnesota. So if you're looking at time just in Dallas, it is Jamie Benn is about to have played more games than anyone else wearing a Dallas Stars jersey. And when you look at just to kind of zoom this out even further, when you look at the space of DFW sports impact and longevity, Gavin, right? Obviously, Dirk Nowitzki's 21 years with the Mavericks is always going to be number one and very hard for anyone to ever beat. But we're looking at a spot where Ben will have is entering his 16th season with the Stars. Ty Modano for the most played in Dallas. Jason Witten, the LP
Ladisor.
I don't know how to properly pronounce the long snapper.
Cowboys,
yeah. That's it as far as athletes who have played more than 15 years.
Yeah.
For a local franchise.
Yeah, absolutely.
This longevity is incredibly impressive. He played 82 games for the 3rd straight season this year, so it's not even like the longevity. It's not even like that's falling, but it's all notable and fascinating. And this comes at a backdrop at the same time. Joe Pavelski is retiring and everything like that. But Jamie Benn notably does not have a contract for next season. And he is eligible to sign an extension already. If it's not like there's it's not like there's a paperwork waiting period for them to get this done. And that's notable to me because this season, the Stars are going to be a cup contender. I think they took a step back a little bit. Obviously, we've talked about that after the free agency episode, a couple things like that, but they're still going to be a cup contender. But one of the underlying storylines of this entire Stars season will be what's next and what does it possibly look like for Ben. And that's why I wanted to dive into this and The timing worked out. It's one of those things where the timing of it worked out perfectly with this perspective of today is Jamie Benn's 35th birthday, and you use notes like that to tie into things. But to me, it's Jamie Benn has kind of faded into the background a bit, but this story is worth discussing in many ways.
I guess the question is, Sean, well, let's start with what the Stars have to deal with, because we don't know as of yet the Thomas Harley, whether it's going to be long-term or it's going to be a bridge deal.
Yeah.
That could play a factor. The other aspect, Wyatt Johnston's contract is up next year, so he's entering his final season, and to me, that's going to be a whopper. So how much is other players going to play a role in whether or not Jamie Benn stays? And I guess the other question is, what is the market value of a Jamie Benn, a 35-plus player who can add a lot to your team, but at the same time, aging, and I know other teams have taken chances, but I was thinking around $4 million, but I'm told that's pretty low.
You were told the 4 million is low.
Some people were thinking 5.56 on like a 2 or 3 year deal.
Yeah, I mean, I think the proper for me the proper comp is similar to is probably similar to what let's use Patrick Kane's deal that Patrick Kane just signed with the Red Wings, because Patrick Kane and Jamie Benn are from the same draft class. They're the two highest scoring players from that draft class. The Kane is effectively has a $6.5 million contract this year. Now, let's be clear on a couple things on that. It's a $4 million cap hit initially, and then $2.5 million in bonus structure. And the Kane will likely hit all of those. Kane will probably, like, using Kane's bonus structure, he's got 1.5 million bonus for 10 games played. Yeah, he's hitting that. 250 for 60 games played. He's going to hit that. It's $500K for playoffs, and I don't know about Detroit making the playoffs this year. So Kane could potentially make 6.5, but Kane is probably going to be playing around a $6 million player this year, is what I imagine. And Patrick Kane, based off statistical impact on what he means to that team, Patrick Kane's a better player than Jamie Benn right now. That's just we call it what it is. So I use that as a bit of a comp. I use that as a bit of their age. I look at the there is the hometown / Texas history for Jamie Benn, where he's probably gonna be willing to take a little bit less to stay in a place like Dallas that he really enjoys and everything like that. And then you take into the fact of some of those last contracts that Joe Pavelski signed, where Joe Pavelski, after his initial deal with Dallas, signed one deal that was effectively a $6 million contract with $5.5 million cap hit base, 500,000 salary, a bonus structure. This past year, it was effectively a $5.5 million as well. So I have a feeling that a Ben contract extension in Dallas probably comes right around that 5.5 space.
Okay.
And I was just doing my math out loud as we were talking through all this, but very similar to the way that Pavelski's deal or Kane's deal, very similar to the way Pavelski's final deal was structured and the way Kane's deal was structured in Detroit, where it would be something with like a $4 million base, and then like $1 million bonus at like 10 games played, and then another $1 million at like 20 games or something like that. Something very easy to hit that allows them to manipulate the cap space a bit. I think that's the market value for Jamie Benn.
Let's talk about that, because I think it's a good learning moment for Spits and Suds listeners, because sometimes they'll hear the term 35 plus bonus. Let's go through that and what that means and how that allows Jim Nill to manipulate the cap. And furthermore, how does that affect future years? Like,
Yeah.
Is anything on the books with Pavelski this year?
Yeah, so it's a great leading question, Gavin, since you know where you're sending me in the right direction here. The like there's two there's only two types of contracts that are eligible for a bonus structure in the NHL. Um, Entry level deals can come with a bonus structure, and then 35 plus deals, which means you have to be I believe I'd have to double check the exact date, but I believe you have to be 35 by October 1st of that season to be eligible for a 35 plus deal. I think that's the technical date. I'd have to double check that, but either way, it's a 35 plus deal. So that at the beginning and the very end, if you have a long career, you can have a deal based in bonus structure. How the bonuses work is they do not they count against the salary cap, but they are flexible where they can be rolled over to the following year. Um, so like for example, the Stars with Joe Pavelski this past season were paying him. Joe Pavelski made $5.5 million, but his cap hit base salary was 3.5, which counted against the salary cap. If the Stars had the space, they would have his additional 2 million in bonuses would have counted against this year's cap. Because they didn't have the space, that 2 million now rolls over to next year, and the Stars effectively have $2 million less in cap space because of how the bonus is. So the bonuses give you some flexibility. They let you work with some things, but eventually you always have to pay the piper on where it's going to get your cap space, whether it's this year or the next year, or as it goes down the line. That's an important note just with Ben as the Stars kind of move things around, because this is, once again, this is a conversation that they need to figure out for his next deal. He's still going to be playing under the 9.5 million this year, but the next deal for Ben will be very interesting to see where and how the Stars look and view and want to get it done and what he wants to get done, because I don't I don't see Jamie Benn. Now Jamie Benn is a very private person about many things in his life. I don't see him I don't see him having much interest in leaving or going somewhere else. I feel like from an NHL career perspective, I feel like he's going to put value in staying in Dallas. And so his structure could probably come with something that helps the Stars and figures it out. Um, but it is a really fascinating space. I rambled a bit there, Gavin. This is
No,
where
it's
I need you to
good.
kind of
No,
to jump in
well,
and straighten me out here.
you also
So
pointed it out, and I encourage everyone to read the D Magazine article. I think when players enter the final year of their contract and a contract's not there,
mhm.
people just say, well, if you can't get a contract, trade Jamie Benn. And the fact is, he has a no movement clause. So
Yeah,
Jamie Benn has to waive that in order for any discussions to take place.
yeah, he's it's he's not going anywhere. Like that is the he will be a Dallas Star through the end of this season, no matter what. The
Yeah.
question is whether there's another deal signed before Jamie Benn's 36th birthday or not, is the question.
Well, I think you brought up the leadership aspect as well, and it's going to be interesting. Joe Pavelski taken out of the room and younger guys coming into the room. It seems as though Jamie Benn is going to, you know, we don't know what happens in the room necessarily, Sean,
Mhm.
but it seems as though the leadership will have to be upped, so to speak.
Well, I'm going to bring up this point here. There was something very notable to me about exit interview day for the Dallas Stars this year. And this is something where, and this is just, it's going to come off as a criticism, and I realize that, and it is a slight criticism, but it's just a fact of reality I want to point out. Um, Jamie Benn didn't speak at exit interview day
Right.
this year for the Stars. Um, Joe Pavelski did. Joe Pavelski talked about how he was effectively done and
Yep.
everything like that. And I thought it was kind of funny, Gavin, when we like for some reason we had all these conversations we had all these conversations 6 7 weeks ago in the Dallas landscape, and all of a sudden everybody else was acting like a big deal because he said one thing on a radio show this week. That was very funny to me, and felt also, on a side note, just kind of like a bit
Yeah.
almost disrespectful to some of the coverage, some of the people in Dallas too. Like just like the people have written about this in this Pavelski thing for a while, and like all of a sudden because he said one thing on NHL Network radio, people are asking like acting like this had never been covered. Like the Pavelski story's been told for 2 months.
Right.
Like and I was kind of a bit perturbed slightly by that. But
Well, I
side
think,
note,
I mean, I can speak to that, Sean, and just say what we say on 105.3 The Fan regarding the Cowboys. It's amazing when you look at the national scope. I talk to friends across the country, and like, for instance, they just continue to throw out the Jerry Jones, and yeah, Jerry's making this decision. And I said, where do you get this information? And it's, I was watching this show, and it's a national show. And it's like, well, you know, what we report here locally doesn't translate nationally. It's fascinating. And I don't know why this market and the people that cover this market don't receive more credence. It has never made sense to me, and I think this was an excellent point. I know that Joe Pavelski said, I'm not going to play next year, but we all knew what it was. And then when he made it, I quote unquote, official, even though it was, you're right, official, you know, you, Taylor Baird, you know, I did want to say in that's a really good point you brought up about the exit interview process, how Jamie Benn wasn't there, because I thought Matt Duchene showed a lot of leadership qualities that day in that.
Well, so thank you for getting me back on track on this, because the thing about Jamie Benn not being there was he has effectively the past 5 years, one of Jamie Benn's least favorite things about being least favorite things about the captaincy is the media responsibility part of it. He doesn't like it. He is uncomfortable with it. He's kind of a shy person in real life from everything I've ever heard and spoken to from other people about him. And he just doesn't like the media element of it. And Joe Pavelski, the past 5 years, has been the shield that allowed Jamie Benn to step back and be protected a bit. Like, I mean, the fact that it took and sometimes Jamie Benn did need to be protected. Look back at what happened with the Mark Stone cross-check incident two springs ago, or last spring, when we saw how he handled the media part about it with very poor remorse and planning. And so I use this line in the story. Jamie Benn will follow the star that is the Stars leader, and there's never been any question in the room. He's always been the emotional heartbeat of the team, and he will be until the day he leaves. But he was an emotional heartbeat that when Joe Pavelski arrived, all of a sudden had a moral compass to help guide. It was a heart and head thing. They worked so well together in that way, where Joe Pavelski was the more pragmatic and quote unquote moral leader that worked so well with Benn's emotional follow me as I do type style of leadership. And let's call it what it is with those two, as like Benn was the captain, Pavelski was kind of a de facto co-captain. The Stars, during Joe Pavelski's 5 years in Dallas, Western Conference Finals 3 times. Stanley Cup Finals. Like this has been a golden, if the Stars hadn't won the cup in 99, this would have been the golden era of Stars hockey. Right. That's the reality. And now Benn is effectively tasked with how does he, at this point in his career, help bring what is leaving with Pavelski. Other players can help add that, but maybe Benn has added it, and maybe he's done it already. Maybe it's something that comes a little bit of growth this season, but he's lost his safety net, and we've talked about Tom Ghilardi on this show before, Gavin. He is the most critical person of Jamie Benn is the owner up there in Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
He is. We hear the whispers about it, but I don't even have to report about his whispers. We hear him come on to radio shows and talk about how Benn he's been very, very publicly throughout the time. Benn and Ghilardi have been very publicly not allies in the way the owner talks about him. So if this was just Jim Nill's decision, I truly believe a deal would be done right now. But I think part of this is the person actually cutting the check, the person actually putting the funds into the bank account. Tom Gillardy, I think Ben has to prove something to Tom Gillardy this season. Um, to because otherwise, I think Jim Nill would have gotten it done already. I think there's a Tom Gillardy factor here at play with Ben's contract right now for next season, for the following season. Sorry, not this season coming up, but for the when he hits UFA status.
Absolutely. You are an author of 2 books, 100 Things Stars Fans Should Know and Do Before They Die, and also We Win Here, the definitive essays you need to know about the Texas Stars. So obviously, you've penned 2 books regarding the Dallas Stars and Dallas Stars history, and I bring that up because it was announced that Jim Lites and Brenden Morrow are going into the Stars Ring of Honor, and wanted to get your thoughts on both.
Yeah, both deserving. I mean, it's Lights is always going to be. Let's talk about Lights real quick first, because Lights is always going to be remembered famously for that tirade.
Yep.
Actually, to me about which
Go back real quick and tell that story, because we have new Spits and Suds listeners all the time.
Yeah.
It's
for those who don't know,
amazing.
2018. It's in December. I get a text from then head of Stars PR, Tom Holey, asking me to swing by the offices because Jim Lights would like to catch up about some general mid-season things, quote unquote general mid-season things. I go to the office, think everything's kind of just thinking we're going to talk about. I don't know. This team president called me into chat. I have no idea what we're going to talk about. Calls me in and basically I sit down, I turn the recorder on, and he just goes on a tirade about how Jamie Benn and Tyler Sagan are holding this team back. The owner is texting him every game about what the hell is going on here with these guys, and they are to, and then the money quote, and I'm about to swear, but this is a podcast, was they're fucking horseshit, and that delivered from the team president's mouth to about the two top players at the time. So yeah, that's Jim Lights is often remembered for that, but Jim Lights, I wrote about Jim Lights quite a bit in my book, 100 Things Stars Fans Should Know and Do Before They Die. One of the reasons the Stars are still here today, and the reason we have this podcast, Gavin, because otherwise there wouldn't be an NHL team here, is what Jim Lights did. Jim Lights was one of the people who, when the team came from Minnesota to Dallas, Lights was part of one of the people hired away from Detroit to come and make hockey work here. And while he may have been a bit bombastic in his words at times, the work done to really help put hockey on the map in DFW, between helping get rinks built, between helping the Stars get so many other things done, like Lights should be in this space. I have no qualms with that at all. I think sometimes we get caught up, especially when you have a franchise that's I think we sometimes forget what the history sometimes, and get caught up in sound bites sometimes. So
yeah. And Brenden Morrow,
the
image that I'll always remember is him skating one leg over to the Chicago Blackhawks bench and taking on the whole bench. And obviously the big goal in the triple overtime game against San Jose, when Nabokov and Turco quadruple, yeah, when that to me was the best goaltending matchup I've ever seen. Nabokov, Turco, both made amazing saves. I remember both. They had to go to replay because the question was, did the glove go over the line because of the shot was so hard? So just an amazing game. Brenden Morrow scores from a pass from Stefan Robidas. And so, he definitely was the heart and soul of the team and had a lot of grit, a player's favorite, took over the captaincy. Tough time, to take it away from Modano. So really interesting history with Brenden Morrow and the Dallas Stars. Lived up to that first-round draft pick and more.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, this is the reason you create this Ring of Honor, Hall of Fame type deal, because you weren't going to retire number 10. Like, he was a great player. He was a really good player, but like, to me, retired numbers, you gotta be, there's something different. There's more about retired numbers, and Brenden Morrow never cleared that line for me. So this is a way to honor your history, and I think it's well done. I will say, and I'm going to use this as a quick tease to a piece I'm going to write up at the Substack after we finish recording this episode. I'm going to sit down and write something. I actually spoke to Les Jackson on the phone this morning,
Oh,
Gavin.
great.
So Les Jackson is someone who um, I'm not on this Hall of Fame committee, and I'll use this as my quick call out if I'm not sure why I'm not on this
Yeah, I
Hall of
don't
Fame
understand.
committee.
I'm
So,
glad Taylor is, but
I'm glad Taylor is, but if Brad, if you're listening, give me a call. You know my number. So I don't. I mean, um, but the Les Jackson should be in the Hall of
he
Fame
should.
in the
Agreed.
Stars Hall of Fame.
Yes.
I spoke to him this morning, because um, once again teasing something that's going to be written at the Substack. Les Jackson actually finally got his name on the Stanley Cup this year. He's working for the Panthers now. Got his name on the cup. He spent 34 years with the Stars. The 98-99 season was his one of two seasons he didn't work for the Stars because he was hired by the Atlanta Thrashers to help them build their expansion draft. So Les Jackson was not, even though Les Jackson worked 34 seasons for Dallas, the one they didn't win the cup, he wasn't there. And so he finally got his name on the cup. He's getting his day with the cup on Sunday. Very happy for Les. And but I'm making a pitch to her. That's a person who should be in the Stars Hall of Fame. Someone who spent 34 years with the organization, moved with it from Minnesota to Dallas, held all of these roles, helped handle several things. He should be in the Stars Hall of Fame. So, for the selection committee, you should think about that, and the selection committee should also think about adding me to the selection committee. But
Yep.
I just, I'm available. I'm the only person who's written 2 books in this franchise.
No,
So,
I
anywho.
agree. No, you deserve to be on there, and hopefully another person that you would think about. And clearly, this comes across as biased, but 8 seasons with both the Minnesota North Stars, Dallas Stars, Cup, Craig Ludwig. And here's why, because for that Cup season, I mean, we can talk about Hitchcock used Ludwig as an influence in the locker room. And everyone looked up to Craig. Everyone admired Craig. And that's not just me saying that. That's players that I've interviewed. And they tell me about Craig. And they tell me about Craig's influence in the room and how important he was and how he played the right way and how he learned from Larry Robinson, people like that. And I just think that, to me, there are a lot of Stars players that can go in this. If Tyler Seguin doesn't get into the Hall of Fame, which I don't think he will at this point, but we'll see. That's another discussion for another day. Him going in there. There's plenty of players to put in. I just think Craig has earned a spot in that Hall of Fame. Honestly, I'm more upset that he's not in the North Dakota Hall of Fame. He won 2 NCAA championships.
He's not in the North Dakota Hall of Fame?
No.
Wow. That's well, we don't have any pull there, but that seems like something that should be rectified.
And like I said, I'm biased because he's a part of this show, but I just think, and then his personality and everything, and I know it's just judged based on ice, but I think when you think of Dallas Stars and you went around and you talked to people, I think Craig Ludwig's name would come up. People love Luds. I think he's meant a lot to this franchise.
Yeah, I mean, it's like there's a couple you have to go and you have to figure, like, I'm not disagreeing with you at all. I think Hall of Fame thing is very interesting too, of how I think one of the things the Stars have done, and it sometimes hurts guys from that 99 team, is they don't want to they made a mistake in branding this franchise at one point of overly living off that 99 season. And now
they under.
And that's the issue, right? Where it's like there's players who should have gotten their, like, the whole Zubov jersey retirement number. Like, the reason they didn't do it because they felt like they were living in the past too much and it took too long. And then, oh, look, Zubov gets into the Hockey Hall of Fame, and now we got to fix that. Like,
right.
So it's on the flip side, though. By the way, Tyler Seguin, I don't see how Tyler Seguin won't be in. He's already Right as of today, he's fifth in points in franchise history.
Oh yeah, no, he'll definitely
Uh,
get in the stars. I was saying the NHL Hall of Fame. Sorry.
oh no! I wasn't talking about that one. Tyler Sagan won't be in the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
No. I thought
yeah.
you were talking about the
Oh
Stars
no,
Hall of
you
Fame.
could put
Yeah,
Sagan in now, and I'd be fine with
yeah,
it
yeah,
as far as the
yeah, yeah,
stars
yeah,
ring.
yeah.
But on that
Uh-huh.
note, Sean, we have to ask Brad Alberts about this. But I'm hoping the Stars are planning a Joe Pavelski night. You mentioned the Zubov thing. I'm
Yeah,
hoping they're
yeah.
planning a Joe Pavelski while it's fresh. I think Joe Pavelski coming back into the barn, dropping the puck, playing some Joe Pavelski Stars highlights throughout the game. I think that would be a nice night.
Yeah. The have the Sharks retired not Joe Pavelski, the other Joe, the taller one with the big beard.
Joe Thornton.
Joe Thornton.
I don't
have they
believe
retired
they
Joe?
have.
Have they done it yet?
I don't think so.
I mean, obviously we know it's happening. Also they're retiring number 19. So this will be a fascinating thing to me because I think you don't want to I would wonder. I have a hunch about something that is not um that is not a not Stars related but Sharks related. I have a hunch that at some point this season the Sharks are going to retire Joe Thornton season. That's not a hunch, so we know that's going to happen. They're going to announce they're going to retire number 19 during the 2024-25
Yeah,
season.
he'll become only the second with Patrick Marleau.
Yeah. Yeah, now that number 19 is officially retired, I would not be stunned if if the day after they announce Joe Thornton's getting retired, that they announce that number 8's getting retired in San Jose as well.
Yep.
I wouldn't that would be
great.
I'm just reading between the lines here on how I think things might work.
No, you're absolutely right. All right, my friend. Well, thank you so much. That's a couple of great Stars discussions. Once again, you can read the latest article on Jamie Benn, and it's a good one, at D Magazine. And then look for Sean. He's coming out with an article about Les Jackson. That's on his Substack, and you can find that by going, if you're looking for a way to get to that Substack, at Sean Shapiro on Twitter/X. My friend, thank you as always, and it's great to talk to you during the off season. Before we know it, they'll be lacing him up for training camp.
Yeah, in 8 days from now, I'll get to watch some good hockey in about 8 days, Gavin. USA World Junior Summer Showcase. If and this is for the real psychos out there who want to watch some hockey with me.
Yep. That's me.
Starting July 28th, World Junior Summer Showcase featuring USA, Finland, Sweden, and this year Canada is back in the World Junior Summer Showcase this year. So I think it's going to be streamed on usahockey.com. So if you're looking for some basically the preview for World Junior, I haven't seen the Finnish roster yet, but I believe Emil, the first round pick for Dallas, is on the Finnish roster. I'll have to double check that. But so if you're looking for a late July hockey fix, there should be one in about 10 days. I will also say if you need a mid-July hockey fix and you've got nothing to do tonight, go watch my movie. Go to Amazon Prime and rent the late game. So I'll be my own salesman for a second, since you usually carry the torch for me on that.
And those pads that you wore in the movie brought you toward the local cup in your beer league team.
Yes, and I had my week with the trophy this past week, and then I had to. And then it went back to someone else last night, since we are now in our summer season. And
I'm going to say this publicly, Mr. Shapiro. Any time that I can come shadow you for these prospect tournaments, or the fact that you had a day with the cup and you did not invite me, I just kind of stings, man.
Let's call it what it's the using the cup for a Wednesday night beer league is a bit sacrimonious for
right. I love it.
But it's
it's a great, you know what? A cup's a cup, man.
Yeah,
a cup's a cup. You won it fair and square. Pitched a shutout in the finals. I mean, you deserve it. That's super cool. All right, my friend. We will catch up with you soon, Sean. And thanks for the article on Jamie Benn. And excited to read the one on Les Jackson coming up on your Substack.
Always fun, Gavin.
All right. For Sean Shapiro, I'm Gavin Spittle. And a quick note, thank you so much for supporting Spits and Suds this off-season. You guys are awesome. We'll come back with another episode soon right here on 105.3 The Fan. Have a great day, everyone.